All right, so get this. There's like a ton of crypto news this week.
Yeah.
We're talking a ridiculous amount.
Big numbers.
Big numbers. $330 million worth of tokens. They're about to be, like, unlocked
Wow.
across, get this, F4UR different protocols. Optimism, SUI, Zetachain, and DYDX.
I mean, those are some heavy hitters.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of cash, but, like, what does it even mean?
Right. What's the takeaway for the average person?
Exactly. So get ready, because we're going to kind of explore how these unlocks could, like, totally reshape the whole crypto scene.
The whole landscape. Yeah, it's fascinating. What's really cool is that each of these protocols, they're all tackling a different piece of this puzzle, the blockchain puzzle.
Okay, so let's break it down a little, starting with Optimism.
All right.
Now, Optimism, it's all about, like, supercharging Ethereum, right? Making
Yeah.
it faster, cheaper, and more scalable.
Way more.
I'm sure you've heard of, like, those crazy gas fees on Ethereum
Don't get me started.
and those, like, slow transaction times.
Real right.
So that's where Optimism swoops in, right? It's what we call a layer 2 solution, which basically means it sits on top of the main Ethereum blockchain, processes transactions separately.
Oh.
You can think of it like an express lane on the highway, bypasses all the traffic.
Okay, so instead of waiting forever for your transaction to go through, paying like a ridiculous fee.
A fortune, yeah.
You get to just zoom through with Optimism.
Exactly. It's all about efficiency.
Okay, but are there like any downsides to taking this express lane, so to speak?
Well, there's always trade-offs, right?
Right.
So one thing is that these layer 2 solutions, they're not as decentralized as the main Ethereum chain.
Oh, I see.
They rely on a smaller group to process those transactions,
So a little less secure.
potentially.
Yeah, potentially. There could be some security concerns there.
That's a good point to make, I think. So Optimism, it's faster, cheaper transactions, but, got to remember,
trade-off.
always trade-offs, right? Okay, so we've got Optimism tackling the speed and the cost. Now, SUI, totally different approach to scalability. This one's interesting.
Oh, yeah. SUI is all about like pushing the boundaries of what blockchain can do, especially when it comes to speed.
Right.
They've developed what they call a novel consensus mechanism.
Okay, hold on. What's that?
Basically, it's like a new way for computers to agree on the order of transactions, like how they happen.
Okay, that sounds a little techy. Can we get like a real-world example?
Sure, imagine you've got a group of people trying to decide on something.
Okay.
And instead of everyone voting one by one, they have this system, right? Where the person with the best argument, boom, decides instantly.
Oh.
Kind of like that. SUI's consensus prioritizes certain types of transactions, lets them get processed super fast.
So it's like a super efficient decision-making process, but for the blockchain.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And that speed. It opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, especially for things like gaming or like decentralized finance, where real-time interactions are super important.
Oh, yeah. Those are huge right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, imagine playing like a blockchain game.
Oh, wow.
And every action you make, bam, reflected instantly.
Yeah, or like a DeFi platform that's just as responsive as your bank app,
Exactly. That would be
Totally different
a
experience.
game changer, yeah.
That's what SUI's going for, that next level user experience.
All right, so we've got Optimism doing its thing with Ethereum. SUI's building a super fast blockchain from scratch.
Right.
Now, Zetachain, this is about like interoperability. That problem of trying to move your crypto between different blockchains. It's like a nightmare.
They're trying to pay with euros in a dollar-based store,
Yeah.
Gotta go through all this conversion, takes forever, costs a ton.
Worst. And Zetachain wants to make that like seamless, easy, move your assets anywhere, no problem.
Exactly, building that universal translator for crypto, Imagine sending Bitcoin straight to your Ethereum wallet or using your Solana tokens on like a Binance Smart Chain app, no problem.
Oh, that's huge.
You could totally change the game, right? Makes the whole crypto world so much easier to use.
Way more user-friendly, and it opened up so many like possibilities for new cross-chain applications.
Oh, totally. I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible there.
Okay, so we've got Optimism for speed, SUI for next-level scalability, Zetachain breaking down the walls between blockchains.
Right, all important pieces.
And then there's DYDX, bringing a more, I guess you could say, sophisticated trading experience to decentralized exchanges.
Yeah, DYDX is kind of like that Wall Street level trading platform, but built on the blockchain, They're targeting those high-frequency traders, the institutional players, the ones who need speed, security, all the bells and whistles.
So instead of relying on these, centralized exchanges,
Right.
which are prone to hacks or outages or, manipulation. You can trade on a platform that's like totally decentralized, governed by code.
Exactly. More transparency, better security. You're in control of your assets.
DYDX is really trying to bridge the gap, between traditional finance and DeFi.
Absolutely, bringing the best of both worlds together, and that's attracting a lot of attention from investors, both big and small.
Now, here's where things get really interesting.
All right, hit me.
All four of these protocols, right? Optimism, SUI, ZettaChain, DYDX, they're about to unlock a combined $330 million worth of tokens.
Whoa.
What could that mean for the market as a whole?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's like watching a rocket about to launch. You don't want to miss out. This influx of cash, it could have a massive impact, could boost prices, attract new investors, maybe even fuel more innovation across the entire crypto space.
Sounds like we're on the verge of like a major shift.
Potentially, yeah.
But we've got to talk about risks too.
Right, absolutely. Got to keep it real.
Because with all this potential for gains, there's got to be potential for, well, downsides too.
For sure. The crypto market, it's inherently volatile, right? This unlock could trigger some big price swings, could spike initially, then correct, or even dip. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results.
So it's not like a sure thing, more like a roller coaster.
Yeah, more like a roller coaster. Gotta buckle up for that ride.
All right, buckle up, everybody. So market volatility, we know that's always there. What about regulatory risks? You mentioned like governments are still kind of figuring out how to, handle crypto.
Yeah, that's a big one.
What are some of the challenges there?
Well, the big thing is that crypto, it operates globally, right? But regulations, they're usually specific to each country.
Right.
That creates a lot of gray areas, a lot of uncertainty.
Oh, for sure.
And governments, they're worried about things like money laundering, tax evasion, protecting consumers.
Sure.
They're trying to figure out how to apply the old rules to this new technology.
Almost like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, kind of. And all that uncertainty can make the market even more volatile,
Well, I bet.
If a big government suddenly decides to crack down on crypto, prices could plummet.
So it's important to stay informed, right?
Absolutely. Got to keep an eye on those regulatory developments.
All right, so we've got market volatility, regulatory risks. What about like technology risks?
Right, we can't forget about those.
You mentioned that blockchain tech is still relatively new, no system's perfect.
Right.
What are some of the, vulnerabilities, the things we should be aware of?
Well, one thing is the possibility of smart contract bugs.
Smart contract bugs.
You see, smart contracts, they're that self-executing code that power a lot of blockchain applications.
Oh, right.
And if there's a bug in that code, well, it could lead to some bad stuff.
Like what?
Like funds being stolen or locked up,
So it's like a glitch in the system, a weakness that could be exploited.
Exactly. And hackers are always looking for those weaknesses, Another thing is 51% attacks.
51%. What that?
That's where a single person or group, they gain control of over half the network's computing power. And if they do that, they can manipulate transactions, even double spend coins.
That's kind of scary.
It is a bit scary, but those attacks are more likely on smaller blockchains,
The ones with less power.
Exactly. Big blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum, those are much harder to attack.
So the size and the security of the blockchain itself, that plays a big role.
Absolutely. Something to consider when you're looking at different protocols.
Okay, noted. It sounds like there's a lot to think about before jumping in, right?
Oh, for sure. Crypto offers amazing opportunities, but it's essential to understand those risks before making any moves.
So it's not just about like potential profits, it's also about protecting yourself from potential losses.
Exactly. Got to be smart about it.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, one of the best things you can do is diversify.
Diversify.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Spread your investments around different protocols, different types of assets, even different exchanges.
Like having a backup plan or multiple backup plans?
Exactly. That way, if one investment doesn't do well, it won't wipe you out.
That makes sense. And then, of course, there's security.
Oh, security is huge.
What are some tips for keeping your crypto safe?
Well, the most secure way is a hardware wallet. That's a physical device, stores your private keys offline, makes it much harder for hackers to get to them.
So it's like a safe deposit box, but for crypto.
Exactly. And use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication on your exchanges, and watch out for those phishing scams.
Like a security system for your digital assets.
Exactly. And got to stay up to date. Learn about the latest threats, keep adapting your security.
It's like a constant game of cat and mouse,
You
right?
got it.
Yeah.
Hackers are always trying to find new ways in. We got to be vigilant.
And that's why community is so important, right?
Absolutely. Share information, talk about best practices, help each other stay safe.
Makes sense. So it's not just about the tech or the market, but also about being part of that community, learning from each other.
Couldn't agree more. The more you learn, the better decisions you can make.
Okay, I think that's a great point to kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
We've covered a lot, the potential impact of these 4 protocols, the risks involved, even some tips for navigating the crypto world.
Hopefully it's been helpful for folks.
Yeah, and remember, this is just the beginning of your crypto journey. Keep learning, keep exploring, and stay tuned.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Exactly. See you next time.
It's kind of wild,
What?
how these 4 protocols, they're all in the blockchain space, obviously,
Right.
but they're approaching things from such different angles.
That's true.
Optimism is like taking what's already there and making it better. Sue's building something totally new.
From scratch.
Yeah, Zetterchain's connecting everything, and MeYDX, they're bringing in those traditional finance ideas to the decentralized world.
It's like the whole spectrum of innovation all happening at once.
Exactly. Shows you how much is going on in crypto right now.
It really does make you wonder, what's next?
Right.
Like, if these protocols actually work, they could really change how we, use blockchain.
How we interact with it. Yeah, the whole experience.
What makes this space so exciting? Always evolving, pushing the limit.
Always pushing, always changing. But, we got to be realistic, too.
Right.
It's not all going to be easy. There are definitely risks.
Yeah, we talked about that a bit.
And anyone who's interested in crypto, they got to understand those risks, before they make any decisions.
Okay, so let's dig into those a little more, shall we?
Let's do it.
You mentioned market volatility earlier, and I think that's something a lot of people, especially newbies, don't quite get.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So why is the crypto market so volatile, especially with these unlocks coming up?
Well, for one thing, crypto's still pretty new, As an asset class, it's not as established as something like stocks or bonds.
So it's like more sensitive?
Way more susceptible to speculation and hype.
Ah, okay.
And whenever you have a big event like these unlocks, it can trigger a wave of buying or selling,
And that makes the price swing wildly.
Exactly. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes, right? The anticipation of the event creates the volatility.
That's crazy.
It's a psychological thing too, And that's why it's so important to stay level-headed. Don't get caught up in the frenzy.
Don't let FOMO take over.
No FOMO allowed. Make those decisions with a clear head.
All right, so we've got volatility. That's a given. What about regulatory risks? Governments are still trying to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, it's a moving target for sure.
What are some of the kind of challenges there?
Well, one big challenge is that crypto's global, right?
Right, no borders.
Exactly. But regulations, they tend to be country-specific.
Ah, so there's a mismatch.
There's a big mismatch, yeah. That creates a lot of gray areas, a lot of uncertainty for businesses and investors.
Makes sense.
Because governments, they're worried about things like money laundering, tax evasion, protecting consumers.
Yeah, it's there.
So they're trying to figure out how to apply the old rules to this brand new tech.
And it's not always a perfect fit.
Not always, no. And that uncertainty can actually make the market even more volatile.
How so?
Well, let's say a big government suddenly announces, we're cracking down on crypto. What do you think happens?
Prices would tank.
Exactly. So it's crucial for anyone in crypto to stay informed about those regulatory developments.
Don't bury your head in the sand.
No, got to stay up to date.
Okay, so I've got market volatility, regulatory risks.
Yeah.
What about tech risks? The actual technology itself.
Ah, yes, the heart of it all.
You said blockchain tech is still kind of young, no system's perfect. What are some of the vulnerabilities we got to watch out for?
One thing is smart contract bugs.
Those again, yeah.
Remember, smart contracts are code, and code can have errors.
And errors can lead to, well, problems.
Big problems, like funds being stolen or locked up, Hackers are constantly looking for those vulnerabilities.
So it's important to, make sure the code's been audited, right? Make sure it's solid.
Exactly. You want that third-party verification. And then there's the possibility of 51% attacks.
Okay, remind me what those are again.
So that's when someone gains control of more than half the network's computing power.
And that gives them a lot of power, right?
Oh, yeah. They could manipulate transactions, potentially even double spend coins.
That's a bit unnerving.
It can be, but those are more likely to happen on smaller blockchains, the ones with less hashing power.
So the big ones like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're safer.
Much harder to attack, would take an insane amount of resources.
So the size and the security of the blockchain matters.
Absolutely. It's a factor to consider.
All right, so seems like there's a lot to think about when it comes to investing in this space.
There is. It's not something to jump into blindly.
Definitely not.
You really got to do your research, understand those risks. It's not just about potential gains, it's about protecting yourself, too.
How do we do that? What are some practical tips?
One of the best things is diversification.
Right, spread the risk.
Exactly. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread those investments around, different protocols, different asset classes, even different exchanges.
So that if one thing goes south, it doesn't wipe you out completely.
Exactly. It's all about managing that risk.
Smart. And of course, there's security. Can't forget about that.
Oh, yeah. Security's crucial in this space.
What are some tips for keeping that crypto safe?
Well, the most secure way is using a hardware wallet. That's a physical device, stores your private keys offline.
So it's not connected to the internet,
Nope, makes it way harder for hackers to get to them.
like a little vault for your crypto.
Exactly. And make sure to use strong passwords, two-factor authentication on your exchanges and wallets, and be wary of phishing scams.
Those are everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's all about building that security system for your digital assets, protecting yourself from all angles.
And staying vigilant, right?
Yeah,
Always updating those security measures.
absolutely. It's a never-ending game, but gotta stay ahead of the curve.
It's like a constant back and forth, right? Hackers are always trying to find new ways in. We got to stay one step ahead.
Exactly. And that's why it's so helpful to be part of the community, learn from each other, share information about potential threats, talk about best practices.
Makes sense. Kind of like a neighborhood watch, but for crypto.
Exactly. The more we work together, the safer we all are.
All right, so the takeaway here is crypto's got a lot of potential, but there are risks.
Always risks.
We've got market volatility, regulatory changes, technology vulnerabilities. It's crucial to do your research and be prepared.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit now.
All right.
We've talked about these protocols, Optimism, SUI, Zeta Chain, DYDX. We've talked about risks. But how does this all apply to, like, the average person? How can someone actually use this information?
That's a great question. I think the first step is to really think about your goals. What are you trying to achieve with crypto? Are you looking for short-term gains, long-term growth, or are you more interested in the tech itself and its potential?
Yeah, your goal should shape your strategy, right? Like what you invest in, how you invest.
Exactly. If you're after those quick gains, you might be drawn to protocols with high trade-in volume, lots of price movement.
More of a gambler, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But if you're in it for the long haul, you might focus on projects with strong fundamentals, a good team, a solid roadmap.
More of a long-term investor.
Exactly. And that's where research comes in.
Right. Can't skip that part.
Definitely not. Once you know your goals, you can start researching those protocols and projects that fit.
What should we be looking at?
Look at the team behind the project, their experience, their track record, the tech they're building, the problem they're trying to solve.
It's almost like interviewing a job candidate, right?
That's a great way to put it. You want to make sure they have the skills, the experience, the drive to succeed.
And check those references.
Oh, yeah, important. See what other people are saying about the project, read reviews, get a feel for the community sentiment.
So it's not just about the project's own website or their white paper.
No, you got to look beyond that, get a sense of their reputation.
How do we do that?
Social media is a great tool for that.
Yeah.
Follow the project on Twitter, join their Discord, their Telegram group, see what people are saying, how they're interacting.
Oh, that's smart. Get the inside scoop.
Exactly. It's a good way to feel out the vibe, see what's real and what's not.
Okay, so let's say we've done our research, we've found some protocols we like, we're ready to invest.
All right. Time to take the plunge.
What are some, like, best practices for managing those investments?
Well, rule number 1, never invest more than you can afford to lose.
That's good advice in general, I think.
It really is. Crypto can be volatile. There's always that risk, so make sure you're only put in what you're comfortable losing.
Don't bet the farm.
Exactly. And remember, diversification, spread those investments around different protocols, different asset classes, even different exchanges.
Multiple backups, always.
Always good to have a backup plan. And another key thing is security. Got to make sure your crypto is safe.
Absolutely. Security's huge.
The most secure way to store your crypto is in a hardware wallet.
We talked about that.
Right, that's that physical device, stores your private keys offline.
Super safe.
Super safe. Also use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication everywhere, and watch out for phishing scams. Those are always lurking around.
It's like a digital fortress. Got to protect those assets.
Exactly, and it's an ongoing thing, you know? You gotta stay informed about the latest threats, the best practices, keep adapting those security measures.
Staying one step ahead of the bad guys.
Always one step ahead, and that's where the community comes in again, sharing info about threats, discussing best practices, helping each other stay safe.
That's the beauty of crypto, right? That sense of community.
Absolutely, we're all in this together, and that brings us back to the importance of research and education, you know? The more you learn about the tech, the market, the risks, the better equipped you'll be to make those good decisions.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language. The more you immerse yourself, the more fluent you become.
Makes sense. All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today.
Yeah, we have. It's been a good one.
We explored these 4 protocols. We talked about the risks. We even gave some practical tips for navigating this crazy crypto world.
Hopefully it's been helpful for everyone listening.
Yeah, and remember, this is just the start.
The beginning of your crypto journey.
Keep learning, keep exploring. Stay tuned for more deep dives.
We'll be back with more insights and analysis.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about the tech, the risks, even like how to think about your own crypto goals. But there's one thing we haven't really touched on.
What's that?
This whole $330 million unlock.
Right.
It's not just like numbers on a screen.
Sure.
This is about power.
That's a really good point. When tokens are unlocked, they're basically being distributed, you know, to early investors, team members, sometimes even the community.
And that changes things.
It can definitely shift the balance of power within a protocol's ecosystem.
Exactly. Suddenly all these holders, they have a voice, they can vote on stuff, influence the direction of the project.
It's a whole new ball game.
It really is. Like a whole new phase begins.
And that's why it's so important to understand the tokenomics of a project, you know? How are the tokens distributed? What rights do different holders have? Who are the major players?
It's like looking at the political landscape of a country.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You've got different factions, different interests, and they're all trying to like get their way.
Exactly like that. And just like in politics, transparency and accountability are crucial, you know? You want to invest in protocols where the decision-making process is clear, where the community has a voice, where there are checks and balances.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about who's in control.
It's about governance, for sure. That often gets overlooked. You know, people get caught up in the hype, the potential profits, but they forget that a project's success also depends on how it's governed, how those incentives are aligned among everyone involved.
Makes you think, right?
Definitely.
So as you're researching these protocols, Optimism, SUI, Zetachain, DYDX, don't just focus on the tech specs or the market analysis. Go deeper. Look into their governance models. See who holds the power, how decisions are made.
Because at the end of the day, you're not just investing in a technology, you're investing in a community, a vision, a whole way of governing that technology's future.
That's a really good way to put it. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. But this is just the beginning of your exploration, right?
Absolutely. The journey's just starting.
There's so much more to learn, so much to discover. Keep asking those questions, challenge those assumptions, keep learning.
That's what it's all about.
This crypto world is always changing, and that's what makes it so exciting.
For sure. It's a wild ride.
So stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of crypto.
Until then, happy exploring, everyone.